Adobe just released a free editing software. We're gonna dive in, figure out how to use it and who it's right for. At the time of this recording, it's only available on iPhones, but knowing Adobe, I'm sure there's gonna be an Android version released pretty soon. Let's go ahead and dive into this app. After you download it, you're gonna go ahead and click on Premiere Pro icon. This is the home screen. You have a few different options here. You can upload content from your photo library. From your files, you could just start a blank project and then import that footage later. You could extract audio from another video that maybe you downloaded. You could add captions. Now these next three are very interesting. They are tied into Adobe Firefly, which is an upsell within the app. So if you wanted to generate images, create videos from images, or expand an image, you would use Adobe Firefly. But in order to use those features, you're gonna have to send some money over to Adobe. So we're gonna ignore those for now and just focus on the free features within this app. If you already have the content on your phone, what you can do is go ahead and just click on this top left corner here, New from Photo Library. From here, you could start selecting the clips that you want to use in your video edit. I recently went to the golf range. It's what I like to do in my free time. Got a few clips here that I'm just selecting for this edit tutorial. Once you have all of your clips selected, you could go ahead and hit next. This is your main editing station within the software. So let's go ahead and explore some of these buttons that are here already. In the top left corner, you have the home icon. Now that's going to take you back to the main app greeting where you could start a project over. Here you could select which projects you want to edit. So we're going to dive back into the edit that we were just on. Next, we have kind of like a layered frame icon. This is gonna help you select the aspect ratio that you're editing in. For this tutorial, we're editing with vertical content. So we're gonna keep it in that 9:16 ratio. But let's say you're editing a horizontal video. You could go ahead and click on that 16:9 option and then edit your footage from there. We're gonna stay on that 9:16 ratio for the remainder of this video. Next to that aspect ratio selector, you have the option to go into full screen mode, which is great when you want to review your edits and see what that final edit is going to look like. That's going to take up the full screen and allow you to see a lot more of those details. To close that full screen mode, you're going to go to the bottom right corner and decrease the size of that playback image. Next is this purple little crown. Now this is gonna be if you want to go ahead and upgrade to Adobe Firefly. Again, this is their AI image generator. I haven't used it personally, but I've seen some clips. It looks really fun to use. So maybe check that out if you're interested in AI context. In the top right corner is going to be your export button. Once you have the video wrapped up, you could click on this to export your video. You have a few different resolution options, frame rate options here. We're going to dive into that at the end of this video, but just for reference, we're going through all the buttons right now. Next, we have two arrows and this slider button. This is going to allow you to change the timeline size. So if you want to expand that timeline to have more room for editing, you could do that. Or if you want to see more of that image that you are creating, you can go ahead and decrease that timeline size. This button here is going to take you to the beginning of the clip. On the opposite end, if you want to go to the end of the clip, you would click that button there. We have the play and pause button in the middle. You can move frame by frame within that timeline by clicking on these buttons here. Another option here, you have the ability to just move the timeline around with your finger. If you end up wanting to add more videos or more images, you could click on this button here in the bottom. You can either select from your photo library, search for stock images, and then there's some more of those Firefly options there. But basically, this button here is going to allow you to add footage to your edit. Let's briefly talk about audio. So if you want to add music and audio, you're going to click on this button here and you can either add a voiceover, sound effects. Something cool is you can actually generate sound effects. If you are looking for kind of like a whoosh, you could type in whoosh, hit done, generate. And now we have a few different options on some sound effects to use. So let's check these out. Instead of searching for that specific sound effect, you could just type that in. It's going to generate. Very cool. Adobe, you did something there. I appreciate that. Moving on to this soundtrack option. Adobe has provided you with a bunch of stock music that you could use on your videos. You don't have to worry about licensing. It's royalty free. It's free music that you could use for your videos. Really cool. Here you could search by mood. So if you want something really chill, mellow, you just select it. Or you could search by genre. If I want something mellow but also a hip hop type of beat, you could check that out. And then you just scroll through and check out some of these audios. Really nice option there. With some of the social media sites, you could have a song on your video and then let's say a month later, I don't know all the details on licensing, that social media site might take that audio down. The social media edit that you put time, energy, and creativity into doesn't have audio anymore. It's just like a silent film, which is kind of a bummer, especially if that video was performing well. The song gets taken away. Not very fun to deal with. So I appreciate the royalty-free music option there. Again, if you wanted to add a voiceover, click on the voiceover button. Premiere is going to ask permission to use your microphone. Hit allow, and it's really cool that it shows the audio level here, so that way you're not getting too loud or you're not being too quiet. You could find that perfect level for your video. Next, titles and captions. If you want to add a title in the beginning, you could just type that in. If you want to change up the style, click on style, and from here you're going to have a few different templates to play with. I do wish there were some more options, so maybe that'll come in the future, but I feel like Adobe's main purpose with this software is just to get you some basic edits to push out. If you want to change the font, you have a few different options here. You can scroll through this and figure out which one is right for you. If you want to change the color, move over to the color tab. Here you could select custom colors. I'm going to go with yellow here. Close, something like that looks pretty good. Layout, if you wanted it to be aligned to the right, to the left. I like it centered. I think that does a good job. If you want to expand that text so that way it lasts longer on the screen, you could use these slider options here. That's going to allow you to change the duration that that text is on the screen for. If you end up wanting to just delete it, you don't like the way it looks, you think it's distracting or whatever the case may be, select your text and just hit delete. If you accidentally delete something, or maybe you push a button that you didn't mean to push, you can go ahead and hit this undo button here. That's going to take it one step back to whatever the edit was before that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and delete that and dive into editing the actual clips that you have uploaded to your timeline. Here, as I'm playing this edit, there's a bit of time in the beginning that I want cut out of the final video. So I can actually pinch and zoom in on this timeline to get a little bit more precise with my editing selections here. I'm gonna go to where I am just walking in the frame. This is where I want my video to start. So I can either drag that clip to where I want it to start, or I hit this split button. Now this is gonna create a cut, and from here, you could select the clip before that and just hit delete. Now I have my video starting where I want it to start. Boom, good, motion, great hook. I'm gonna go through these clips, cut out the stuff that I don't like, and then we'll take it from there. All right, we're back and I've made a few edits. I found a song that I liked. I went ahead, added the text here. Something that you may notice that we didn't touch on before is there's now 2 layers of text. So something that I did was I clicked on the original text. I went over to duplicate. That's gonna make a copy of it. You could actually drag it around your timeline. So I just went ahead, made a layer on top of that. I went over to the edit text button, changed it to session, and then from here I was actually able to drag it around to the spot where I wanted it to be. I trimmed the second layer of that text so that way it would come in slightly delayed after the first one, and now this is what we have. I made a few different cuts using the split button. I made a fast-paced edit. It's going to the beat of the song, which I was able to figure out by zooming in on that timeline. I could see these peaks and valleys on that song, and each of those peaks is going to be where that beat hits. So I made cuts along the beats to the music, and the result of that is a super satisfying fast-paced edit. this point, I've cut out the awkward stuff that I didn't really want in the video. I've added music, added the text that I want. Let's see what else we can do in this editing app. Next, let's talk about this replace button. If you have a clip in your timeline that you want to swap out with another video, maybe you recorded it after the fact, you could go ahead, hit that replace button, and it's going to allow you to select the clip that you want to replace in your timeline. Now, in this case, I don't want to replace the clip, so I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. It's a great option though when you're in the beginning steps of moving some stuff around. Speaking of moving some stuff around, if you have a clip that you want to reorganize, maybe you want this clip right here to go right before the next, you could press and hold the clip, and here you have a few different options. You could either move it left or right, and that's gonna move the other clips around as well, which is very helpful, or you could move it up to the timeline. Now that's gonna collapse everything underneath it, not necessarily what I wanna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit undo. That's another great way to organize your edit in the beginning before you start diving into all of those cuts. That move up button is just kind of like a shortcut to move it up on the timeline. Again, it's going to collapse everything underneath it. Here we have the volume button. Here you can adjust the volume. We have a reset button, so it's going to take it back to 100% volume each and every time that you press that reset button. Next to that is a apply to all button. So if you want all of your clips to play at 50%, you just hit apply to all, and that's going to lower the volume of all of your clips. You could exit this volume window by clicking the X here. And again, if you ever want to undo something, just hit that undo button. Next, we have this audio fade button here. So if you want your music to start from 0 volume and work your way up to 100% volume, you could select the audio clip that you want to have this effect on, hit audio fade, and you're gonna see this little slope progress through that. So maybe you don't want that full volume until that first clip has made its way through for whatever reason. You'd go ahead and do that. You could do some really cool sound design with this audio fade in and out transition. That could be a whole video on its own. Again, we're sticking to very simple edits with this tutorial, so we're gonna have to play with that another day. Next, we have a license code. Now, some of you might not know what that is, but let's say you upload something to a social media platform and it gets flagged for a copyright claim. Well, you can click on this license code and respond to that copyright flag and say, hey, I have a license code. It's okay for me to use this audio with my video. And you would copy this license code, send an email, fill out a form with whatever social media app you have. I don't really see that happening all too much, but it's a nice option to have in the editing software. You could always go back to that as a point of reference. I'm going back to this image and I want to see what else we could do with this edit. You could extract the audio if you wanted to. Like, hey, I want the audio from this clip, but I want to move it down here. What I want to get into next is the aesthetics of the video itself. I'm going to call this little area down here our tool bag. In our tool bag, we have a looks tab. Now this is going to be a bunch of different filters that you could use to apply to your video. Personally, I like the dramatic look, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. But I think at full blast, it's going to be a little bit too harsh, a little bit too stylistic. I like to keep my effects subtle, so I'm going to go ahead and lower that down to, let's say, about 30%. If you end up clicking on a filter that you don't really like, you could always do the reset button, or if you really love that image, you could go ahead and click apply to all. Now that filter is going to be applied to all of my clips, and with the same filter applied to all the clips, it's going to look a little bit more cohesive, especially if it was filmed at the same time of day on the same camera. Back into our tool bag, we have the adjust window. Now from here, if you really want to dive into different color grading options, whether that's increasing the exposure, decreasing the exposure, if you ever want to just reset it, again, we have that beautiful little reset button. Contrast, highlight, shadows, color grading within this app could be a whole video on its own. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments down below. If you're just starting out, I recommend that you play with these different effects to see how they affect your image. So for example, if I hit this move up button, you're gonna be able to see this more on like a layered effect. If I go over to opacity, if I drop it down, you're gonna see some of that background image come in. As I zoom in to these two clips here, you're gonna see something in between them, this little transparent window. When I click on that, it's gonna allow me to add a transition. So you could again play with these. I'll click on flash, for example. If I want this to transition to a bright flash in between those clips, you could add that. There's a few different options in there. The best way to learn an editing software is just to dive in. Start seeing what those buttons do. You'll catch on pretty fast. Next, we have a speed button. So we could actually increase the speed to 2x, 5x. That's gonna shorten the clip, so keep that in mind. This reverse button is gonna allow you to play your clip in reverse, as you can imagine. So in this clip right here, for example, I was walking forwards. After hitting the reverse button, I'm now walking backwards. Freeze button's gonna freeze the image. Next is an animation button. If we want that edit to just kind of fade into darkness because it's the end of the video, click on that, it's gonna fade to black. So the style of edit that I just walked you through, it has some simple text, it has very basic cuts, and it's going to music. So now let's switch editing styles a little bit. We're gonna move into a talking head video edit. I'm gonna go ahead and click on new from library. I'm gonna select a couple clips. This is all stuff that we've done before. Hit next. Now in this video, I'm actually talking about one of my favorite everyday cameras, right? So from here, I could actually see when I did that final take, I know that when I was recording it, that was the take that I was gonna use. I'm gonna move to where that audio just starts, hit that split button, select everything that comes before that, throw it in the trash. Don't need it. So now with this edit, I have it starting where I want it to start. This is what it looks like so far. This camera right here is small, compact. It takes great photos, great videos. So at this point here, I want some B-roll. I need to switch up this visual because it's starting to get a little boring. As I pinch the timeline here, it's gonna zoom out basically. And I want this clip right here to come in to add some visual interest. I'm gonna press and select it, move it up a layer, and now I could actually have it be a little bit more of an overlay. Now this right here is where I want that B-roll clip to come in. So I'm gonna zoom out, select my clip, and it's gonna automatically just snap to that timeline where I want it to come in. This camera right here is small, compact. It takes great photos. But this B-roll clip, it's not starting where I want it to start. I could go to the beginning of the clip and just drag it over. I'm gonna go back to where I want that B-roll clip to come in, zoom out a bit, press and hold that B-roll clip, drag it over to where I want it to start. Now we're in business. This camera right here is small, compact. It's getting pretty close, but the B-roll clip has background noise and it's kind of interfering with the vocals. So I'm gonna go over to volume and I could just go ahead and drag it all the way down. This camera right here is small, compact. It's beauty. I love it. Something about this video. This is a solid edit so far. I wasn't using a microphone like I am now. It was just off of my iPhone. So I'm gonna go ahead, select that clip and see if we can actually make the audio better. We're gonna hit enhance speech. This is gonna be great if there is a little bit of an echo if you're in a big room and if the microphone isn't exactly 1 foot away from your mouth. This would also work really good if you're out and about, you're vlogging, there's traffic noise, or maybe you're inside and your AC is running. It's gonna help clean up that background noise just a little bit. This camera right here is small, compact. It takes great photos, great videos. So that definitely sounds like I'm wearing a microphone now. I'm actually really impressed. Now with this clip right here, I think my skin tone is just a little bit too pale for my liking. One, I could either go out into the sun more, which probably not an option right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and hit adjust. From here I could play around. I want to add just a bit of contrast, taking it up to 20. Color, we'd actually either cool it down or warm it up. I'm just gonna warm it up a hair. Mix, you know, I'm kind of a sucker for making those blues a little bit more teal, and maybe I want to add a little bit of vignette, just a bit, just to add a little bit more focus on my face. If you toggle between that reset button and this undo undo button there, you're gonna be able to see a little bit of a before and after. I do wish that you could like press and hold on the image itself and then it would toggle between the effects. Maybe that'll come in a future update, but for now, that's kind of the workaround that I have. Another adjustment when it comes to your clips, if you want to actually zoom in on something, you could just pinch and zoom. You could also press and hold it and move it around to wherever you want. And let's say that that clip was not perfectly level. You could actually put 2 fingers on your clip and rotate it to where you want it to be. So really cool option for adjusting the clips to where you want it and the orientation. I also want to go through a few other features that I kind of glossed over before, but I just want to give you an example of what they do. So since we were just talking about orientation and zooming in, zooming out, that kind of thing, I want to show you the flip options. This is going to allow you to flip your footage. Again, kind of having like that mirror effect, and you could do it horizontally or vertically. Maybe you were recording with your phone upside down, or you were using your front camera, and that typically does have that mirror effect. So just to get it at the right orientation, you could use that flip button there. We talked a little bit about this remove background option, and I think this is going to work best when you have just a clean background. If there's a lot of different items there, typically that might not work as well. Let's see how this does. If I hit remove background, it's going to go ahead and create a mask. And as you can see here, it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. So it's something that could probably be fixed with a future update. Let's see what happens here when I'm going to shorten this clip just so that way it doesn't have to edit as much. But I'm going to go to remove background. Now that's going to go ahead and it's going to take its time creating a mask, but let's see how this turns out. This is my first time using it, so you're gonna see my live reaction here. Usually features like this do take some time. Getting close, guys. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. So the background remover didn't work great. I wanted to just, this image below it, I just uploaded because it was the closest thing to that I had to like a white background. The background remover, not the best at the moment. Now, the positives is that it did outline me pretty well, but while it did that, it created like this 50% opacity. So it's like I'm transparent a little bit. It's not an effect that I think would be usable. Once the edit is where you want it to be, go ahead and hit the export button. Here we have a couple different options. And something that's cool is if you already have an Adobe Premiere Pro subscription, you could actually send the project to your desktop to continue editing. Now, for that, you are gonna have to have an account with Adobe Premiere Pro. And if you wanna edit on the desktop, it's not gonna be the free version anymore. But let's say you were able to accomplish all that you wanted to in the mobile app, the edits where you want it to be, you could actually export it as 4K, 1080, 720. I'm gonna stick with the suggested export settings. I think they look pretty good. And then you could just hit export video. That's gonna send the final edit to my Photos app. And from there, I could upload it to the social media platform of my choice, or just keep it for myself. Camera right here is small, compact. It takes great photos, great videos. Cool. Wow. If you're still here, thanks for watching. Editing tutorial done. I hope that answered a lot of your questions and it motivated you to just get started on your next video. I think Adobe Premiere Pro did something really cool here because it allows you to make those basic edits to get your content out there. Something that I didn't mention is that all of your edits belong to you. Now let's go ahead and compare this to another free mobile editor app out there. Now, I'm not going to name names, but it rhymes with MapMut. When you accept their terms and conditions, you're basically saying that they have full ownership, full usage rights over the edits that you create. I don't really like that because I don't like the idea of another company owning images of my face, especially when I'm the one that pressed record. Just feels a little bit icky to me. What I appreciate with Adobe Premiere is that I still own the footage. I still own the edits. What I create is mine, not the software company that I used. So huge bonus points and something I think that a lot of content creators need to be aware of. If I were to make any suggestions to Adobe, here are some of the things that I would like to see. More text variety, and what I mean by that is more fonts, more options to customize the text, and maybe even adding text effects like typing on a screen or sliding the text in, something to add a little bit more interest to the edit. I would love to see keyframes for speed ramping and zoom effects. When it comes to the stock music, as much as I appreciate all the options that are out there, I do wish that I could save the songs that I like when I'm browsing it into some type of playlist or maybe even a favorites tab. I think it would just save a lot of time for future edits. I wish there was better precision for the tilt and rotate option. When you rotate the image, it kind of has this like magnetic effect to find center, and it'd be cool if I could actually get more precise with it, because sometimes when I'm filming something and I think it's perfectly level, it might just be off by just a fraction or a hair. So I'd love to go in and make that adjustment in the app itself. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up this video now. So those are just a few of the feedback notes that I would like to see implemented in future updates. But again, who do I think this is for? If you're just getting started, you don't want to get overwhelmed by all the different effects and options that you can do within an editing app, I think this is a great option to start with. And at the time of this recording, this app was just released this week. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here and what the future updates will contain. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I'm excited to see some of your future edits. So until next time, keep creating.